And that's actually really critical. Like, just living for that one turn against the Azindil's Gift is really, really important, because Xifix's basic plan here is to...
You're watching the Eternal Tournament Series.
Welcome back, everybody. We have an exciting round 7 for you here. I, of course, am Mark, aka Chibikawaii. Joining with me is LocoPojo. We've got Calimdir, also known as Gabe, another ETS caster on Stonescar Burn, and then we've got lllserblll on what looks to be a Stonescar control type list. What's your take?
I love this list. I'm glad to see something new in the definitely a little bit different from what we've seen so far. Stonescar control is certainly got some cool stuff going on with it. And the main thing being 4 Flamestokers, which is just adorable. So this deck seems to be basically trying to push things out with Infernal Tyrant and Flamestoker at the top. But in the meantime, it controls stuff, of course, with all of the awesome Stonescar tools that you have for that. Statuary Maiden, all of your good removal, Extract, Death Strike, Torch, Annihilate, and Suffocate. And then a couple of selection cards such as Quarry to get you through and get you to whatever it is that you specifically need. Finally, one last card at the top, the Sleepless Night, allows you to sort of draw into a bunch of new threats when you run out of gas. So yeah, a lot of interesting things going on here. The Flamestokers and Infernal Tyrants can really push through the game. And Flamestoker provides an endless source of units that have Overwhelm, which means that as long as you can keep your opponent's board somewhat under control, you can typically squeak out a win around turn like 8 or 9. So looking like good stuff. Really looking forward to seeing how it plays out. Calimdir's Stonescar sort of speed run might be a little bit tricky to beat, but with the 4 extracts and the general just early pressure that this control deck seems to have, it might have a good chance.
Yeah, I'm not super worried for lllserblll. I mean, with the 4 Vara's Favor, 4 Annihilates, 2 Suffocates, 4 Torches, and the 4 extracts, Gabe doesn't really have a lot that's going to be able to live through that.
Yeah, it's a rough deal. Calimdir does have the access to Pyro Knight into Champion, which was typically a decent early start. But of course, you've got to find some good 2-drops and get things going a little bit better. If he can manage that, then he can get started. But of course, if Serb has any good answers, then it's going to be kind of tricky for him.
Yeah, so we're going to see Knight come down on turn 1, passed over to Bill. What's Bill doesn't have it could turn 1 Suffocate, which I think would be perfectly fine here.
Yeah, it could be reasonable. Turn 1 Suffocate would be okay. If he wants to set that up, that'd certainly be fine. Champion of Chaos is normally a really good Suffocate target if you can hit it, but Calimdir's Champion is not coming down as a 3/3. It's coming down as a 4/3 or a 5/3. Which will put it out of range of Suffocate and make it a lot harder to kill for Serb.
And so Calimdir getting a little aggressive here. Ooh, there's that Vara's Favor that I was, a little worried about.
Yep, it's a rough answer to Pyro Knight, and Calimdir not really presenting early threats. That's a big deal for the aggro deck.
Yep.
Like, if you're not getting a lot of early threats here and you just kind of have like a bunch of power and then some like stuff to play later, that's going to be just a really, really strong bonus for the control deck, which is trying to spend this time setting up and getting into a position where it can start to win the late game. Calimdir's Champion does present a really significant threat, and it doesn't like Serb has an immediate answer. So that's 5 damage he's going to take, and that's enough for Champion to be well worth its salt.
Yeah, I was about to say, we still could easily see a Torch come down.
Yeah, I missed the power of the Torch, but...
And this is kind of what I was getting at, like where I'm really worried, because literally, serblll's deck below 4 is all card quality and removal. Like he actually doesn't play a single unit until he gets to 4 power.
Yeah, Calimdir already sitting on 3 more power than he needs. Those are essentially just dead cards in his hand for the moment, and without like any sort of big way to push through damage, this game might already be over. He has Shogun's Scepters, he has Soulfire Drakes, like the Statuary Maiden's really shutting that down. So Champion of Chaos, again, pushes through for a bit of damage, but he's already not pushed through for enough. Serb's starting to get to the point where he can start playing his big 6 drop.
Yeah, and this extract, I don't. Ooh, I feel like this is just going to be very hard for Gabe to come back from now.
Yeah, Champion of Chaos was nerfed back to 5 down to 3. That was a big deal for Champion of Chaos, but it's an even bigger deal now that Extract has come out of Omens. There's now 2 different things that really just kill that card dead, and it makes it a lot tougher to get it to stick.
I will say I will happily allow Champion of Chaos to die to Extract than going back to it being a 5/5.
Yeah. Shogun Scepter, showing a little bit of weakness here. It is a card that traditionally can generate a lot of different threats, but it's not particularly good against control decks because hard removal still gets rid of the unit that you put the Scepter on, and then most of them kind of ignore the Oni Ronin. So from here we have Infernal Tyrants gaining that life back. Calimdir is now just seconds away from dead. Second Infernal Tyrant.
There's still outs, right? They're still out.
I mean, he's at 38 and a burn, so it seems fairly unlikely. But
you got a Heart of the Cards? Is that what we're doing?
I don't think there actually are outs for Calimdir.
There are 0. There are 200% 0 because there's a Cudgel floating around in lllserblll's hand as well.
Yeah, so like he basically just doesn't have a good answer here. This might be a very quick series of rounds. Like, if the next round goes anything like this round does, Serb is going to have a pretty good time. Calimdir does have some decent advantages in his sideboard. He'll be looking at Groundbreaker as an option to prevent the Infernal Tyrant lifesteal, as well as the Extract lifesteal.
No.
And Sansari Brigand can at least replace this Shogun Scepter and give him more threat density. Both of which would be pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about stacking the Cudgels on your Statuary Maiden.
Yeah, it's hard to say which is better.
Ooh.
Calimdir going out on his own terms.
Yeah, I like it.
Masterclass there.
Making sure lllserblll stays at that 50 life. Can't have him at 53. That would be just a little bit too much, right? You gotta make sure that lllserblll showing a little bit of modesty there.
He may have lost, but he didn't lose at more than twice the.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's all about the small wins, right? Incremental. That's what we're going for. So let's jump over to these boards. I'm looking at Calimdir's board. I'm seeing Groundbreakers. I like Groundbreakers, especially with how much life gain lllserblll's got kind of going on. What do you think about the Sansari Brigades?
The Sansari Brigand is definitely a good idea to replace the Shogun Scepter here. I think that just increasing the threat density is important, since Serb is going to be basically removing everything that Calimdir puts down. So if he puts down a couple of cards and then ends up opponent just doesn't have anything else, that's all the time that Serb needs to take control of the game. So if Calendir's looking for an aggressive strategy, he has to go for the Sansari Brigand over the Shogun Scepter. Or he has to try and put the Shogun Scepter on the Brigand, which I don't like quite as much. I think Groundbreaker is a pretty helpful card here. I think if Calimdir can actually get the aggressive stuff going early, that's going to be a big deal. He might cut Annihilates for Suffocates to get rid of Statuary Maiden, or he might do something else to just sort of like make the deck a little bit less focused on dealing with units and more focused on dealing with the control side. But there's some pretty good threats to deal with, including Statuary Maiden and Steward, so hard to say if that's a good idea.
Yeah, because
I think the Suffocates are super important.
I think so. I agree.
Like, Serb has good 4-drops to sort of defend his face, but he has no units below 3. So, basically, Suffocate will always get value, and it will typically mean that he can push in for an extra turn on a time when he would not otherwise be able to push in. So, yeah, Suffocate seem like they might be a very good thing to come in. They do the same thing as the Annihilate, but they also kill Statuary Maiden, basically.
It looks like players are back in their games, resolving mulligans right now. So they should be on their way shortly. It looks like Gabe did bring in the Sansari Brigands. Ooh. Yeah. I'm liking Gabe's hand a lot better this time around.
Yeah, this is the aggro hand you're actually looking. Instigator into Instigator and Meccano Outlaw, or Meccano Outlaw into Instigator and Instigator. Either way, you're getting like a ton of damage early on. You can really start to pressure. The one thing that's kind of tricky here is that Calimdir does want to get to 3, and now that he has Stone Scar Banner, he doesn't really have to worry about it.
Yeah, Champion of Chaos still going to come in as a 3/3 as it sits currently, but another seed or another banner quickly solves that. Actually, any other power, because even a seal right now would still get them Gabe another influence of his choice in order to bump Champion of Chaos up to at least a 4/3.
Yeah, I like Calimdir holding back the Instigator here. The double Instigators can actually be kind of an since
Yes.
if they both get suffocated, then that's like a little bit of extra damage in crackback.
Mhm.
But like it's a pretty aggressive card, so if he can place it down correctly, it's going to be really good for him. Rakano Outlaw into Stone Scar Banner here. He's got threats for days. Serb really needs to establish some sort of unit like Statuary Maiden to defend his face. And if he can't manage that, then it's going to be a little bit tricky.
Yeah, and we're going to be able to see Rakano Outlaw get in, Caleb's Favor going to the face. All right, well, Caleb's Favor going to the face, and then an Instigator being played after that. Oh, but with that Shadow Sigil at the top, maybe we're just going to see 2 Argenport Instigators come out.
Yeah, it's not a bad plan. Certainly gives him a decent amount of aggression. The main problem here is that it doesn't translate into damage. So if the response is Statuary Maiden, that negates the chance of Sensari Brigand ever hitting for anything.
Yep.
Which is a bit tricky. We'll see what Serb has next. He does have Stray into Shadow in the deck, so if he plays a 5 and Stray into Shadow, that's probably game for Calimdir. Like, he's got a few threats left, but he hasn't done enough damage to Serb to really justify.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah, Caleb's Favor also will allow Champion of Chaos to come down as a 5/3. Again, not entirely sure how much that's going to matter. Given that lllserblll is stalling a little bit here, I'm wondering if they just don't have anything, or if they have a lot of things, they're just trying to figure out what the best line is. Seems like the latter.
Yeah, we see the Statuary Maiden. Caleb's Favor doesn't really answer that, so Calendar's stuck kind of playing Champion of Chaos and sitting tight.
Yeah.
If he doesn't find a Suffocate, then he's in a lot of trouble. Obliterate could help too, but Serb is now feeling pretty established, and every unit that he kills is going to translate into a little bit more board presence.
Soulfire Drake is actually pretty big game here too right now.
Now the problem with that is that the Entomb doesn't trigger if it turns into a Cudgel,
which is true. I guess like I never worry about Soulfire Drake for the Entomb effect. For me it's much more valuable as just a 5 powered flyer that's getting in the air immediately.
Yeah, a 7 damage Obliterate there. They're actively hurting Calimdir now. With another Instigator here, he's just going to take damage from his own like units getting picked off.
Yeah, I don't know how. I guess like this because even if another Cudgel is going to come, basically what I was wondering is he was trying to play around like another Cudgel being put on the Statuary Maiden, and yeah, but I don't think that's actually going to matter because for another Cudgel to be made, exactly this scenario has to happen, which is a unit dying, and then you don't have enough to triple block anymore.
Yeah, he takes 3 damage, and now Calimdir has Sensari Brigands, 2 of them. He can actually press for damage if he wants to, but he doesn't really have a way to deal with the Statuary. Suffocate or Annihilate does not kill it, and I don't think he has any other card that can actually deal with a unit that large.
Yeah.
I like this attack.
A turned on Groundbreaker doesn't even do it either.
Yeah, it's very important for Calimdir to be pressing as much damage as he can now. Yeah. And he's aggressing through the Statuary Maiden, feeling no fear. But of course, if a Statuary Maiden attacks here, he's done enough damage that Statuary Maiden is unlikely to attack him for the 2-turn clock. Yeah. But if he can continue to push here, that's another 6. That gets his opponent to 8. And then an Obliterate on a small target might do it. There are ways that he might be able to get a little bit more pressure, but Serb has yet another removal card, and that's answering things pretty well. At this point, Serb might even feel confident attacking.
Oh, wow.
Yep, swinging for 10.
And do we have a Torch?
Torch or an Extract would do it. So Calimdir has one last chance to win, but with 6 damage in hand, like, there's no answer. I think Serb played that just right, provided enough.
So, let's see. Vara's Favor is lethal. Anything that deals damage is going to be lethal here.
Yeah.
The reason why, just in case, Vara's Favor is lethal is because he's going to be attacking with the Statuary Maiden. He's going to have to block with the Oni Ronin, and then the 2 Argenport Instigator triggers will happen, putting Gabe down to 1.
Yeah. Oh, over half of Serb's deck is lethal at this point. He has Torch, Annihilate, Suffocate, Vara's Favor, Extract, Death Strike, Obliterate, and of course Flame Stoker, kind of, as well as Stray into Shadow. Like, there's not a lot of good options here.
The second unit's guaranteed lethal as well, right?
Yeah, Calimdir actually does have the option to Soulfire Drake.
Calimir's got lethal.
He's got 5.
Well, if he swings out, oh no, never mind. You blocked the 2/3/3s. Never mind, he's one off. My fault.
Yeah, he's one short, and if he attacks in, he does die. But that 5 damage might actually secure the win. His opponent has to attack with both units.
No, he just attacks with both units, and then the Argenport Instigator triggers kill him.
The Steward of the Past, however, prevents the Instigator triggers, so
that's
actually fine on that side.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So that's 1 trigger from Instigator. Oh, never mind. That's both triggers from Instigator.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, that 2 triggers from it for the Soulfire Drake, and 1 for the Silent Steward. That's exactly 3 damage.
Yeah.
Steward manages to pull it across, and Calimdir is unfortunately down for the count.
Yeah, congratulations to Mr. lllserblll, and sad day for fellow commentator Gabe. But, bigger and brighter things. So I think we're going to be looking into if we have a backup match. We may not. I mean, like, what do you think could anything have been done differently in that game, Pojo? Do you think that would have gave Gabe a little bit more of a chance there?
On Calendir's side, I think he just had a really bad matchup. Like,
yeah.
He was matched against someone who was playing essentially what he's running, as well as like somebody who was playing a lot of stuff with lifesteal, a lot of like useful removal spells. It's kind of the nightmare scenario for Stonescar Burn. I think as far as things go, Calimdir needed to have like Suffocates. He didn't end up picking them up at any point, so that was a big problem. Without Impending Dooms or Soulfire Drakes to push through in the late game, he really didn't have enough sort of late game presence. Anything to kill the Statuary Maiden early would have been nice, but yeah, I think he kept a hand without removal because it was full of threats. And while that would have worked if he had drawn any removal, he never drew it. So,
yeah, and you really, the Impending Dooms would have been great. Soulfires earlier would have been great. Just anything to actually give those large flying units. I felt like you really needed to see.
Yeah, basically, like once the Statuary Maiden came, he didn't have a Rapid Shot. He didn't have Annihilate, Annihilate wouldn't have done anything, but he didn't have Torch or Suffocate. He didn't have Soulfire or Impending Doom to fly over it, and it just stymied his game plan, which is really kind of the nightmare scenario. But unfortunately, it is a thing that happens there, and so I don't know. He wasn't particularly favored for the matchup, and he tried his best, but unfortunately, that was the game.
Yeah. So with that actually is going to be the last match that we're going to be bringing you for this round. So we're going to take ourselves a little bit of break. We're going to go figure out the top 8. We're going to be back with the top 8. We're going to figure it out and then come back with it. We're going to do both. We're going to do all things involving top 8s that you can possibly think of, and I mean everything. So stay tuned, and we'll see you guys soon.
See you soon.